Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Tune in, you guys, to a new original drama series from Showtime. It's called I'm Dying Up Here, and it's about stand-up comedy in the 70s. That's right. It's on Showtime. You can download the app and get it for free if you do a free trial on the Showtime app. It's called I'm Dying Up Here. It's about stand-up comedy in the 70s. Jim Carrey's executive producing. It's an ensemble cast. Al Madrigal's in it. Andrew Santino and Eric Griffin is in it. So it's a mix of actors and comics. And the club owner, Goldie, is played by an Academy Award-winning actress, Melissa Leo. That's right. Download the Showtime app, watch I'm Dying Up Here, and watch Al Madrigal be a stand-up comic in the 70s. Tune in Sundays at 10 p.m., 9 Central on Showtime. Hello and welcome to the Dork Forest. I'm Jackie Cation and I'm your host. You know the websites, JackieCation.com, DorkForest.com, the rest of them you probably know. Anyway, let's get right into the credits. Mike Rickberg composed and sang that song you just heard. He sang it with his wife, Sarah Cohen. He will sing again his words to the Mexican Hat Dance at the end of this program. Patrick Brady's going to fix this audio, and Vilmos does my website, JackieCation.com. There are many ways to support the show if you wish to support the show. First and foremost, and probably easiest, would be to review the show on iTunes. Tell friends about it with your face. Those are the ones. Then the next thing that doesn't cost any money, you can use the Amazon banner that is on both DorkForest.com and JackieCation.com under support the show or at the top bar. And all you do is use that as a portal, the Amazon banner or the Amazon link, to get to Amazon, order as normal, and it doesn't cost you extra. Dork Forest gets a little bit of a kickback. The next thing you can do, PayPal button. That's right. PayPal button is just a way to directly give the Dork Forest money. You can donate monthly. That'd be $10 a month, would be $100 a year, which is what bands tell people to give them. And so that's what I tell people to give me, because in November and December, I tell you not to donate. Instead, find a food bank. Anyway, if you want to donate monthly, I have not made that easy. You'll have to remember every single month that you like the show. So do whatever you want there. Some people don't like PayPal and have begun to Venmo me money. That is acceptable, as you can well imagine. Other than that, on JackieCation.com, there is merch. If you would like a Dork Forest t-shirt or a Ranger of the Dork Forest t-shirt or one of my stand-up albums, my stand-up DVD, or a stand-up t-shirt, they are all at JackieCation.com in the store, in the merch page. All the t-shirts are 100% cotton, pre-shrunk. They are union made here in the United States of America, so they run a little big because they're made by Americans. And you can order those. Shipping is included. You can get the CDs and DVDs, hard copies on my website. Everything's available digitally. You can get them at iTunes and Amazon. And the DVD you can get streaming at comedyfilmnerds.com on their download page. The name of my DVD special is This Will Make an Excellent Horcrux. That is available as a video or as an audio. Okay. I have a new album. It is called I Am Not the Hero of This Story, and it was number 1 on Amazon and iTunes and number 3 on Billboard, so I'm very proud of it. You should go and get that. I Am Not the Hero of This Story. You can listen to everything on Pandora, Spotify, and Amazon Prime if you have those things. And come and see me live. If you want to know more about it, you can follow me on Twitter at JackieCation or Snapchat or Instagram, all the things, or you can just go to JackieCation.com and check out my schedule. Enough is enough. Let's get into it. Hey, I'm in my living room, Jackie Cation here. I'm with Costaki Economopoulos. Great comic. New York, right now?
New York.
Yeah. Costaki, I remember when I first, I think, emceed for you and learned how to pronounce your name.
Is that when we met? As I was thinking about it on the drive over here. I knew it was Acme, but I was trying to think of the era for each of us.
Well, when I lived in Minneapolis, he moved me. It wasn't that I had to MC. No, it was,
right.
It was, if you live in Minneapolis, you're willing to MC, feature, or headline.
Of course.
At Acme.
Right.
Because it's a week of work.
That was true. My home club, the Atlanta Punchline as well.
The Atlanta Punchline.
And the same model of, I would be headlining somewhere else and I would come back and middle there, and I was middling somewhere else and I was emceeing there.
Yeah.
Same deal. Yeah.
He gives me one, was it last year or the year before, Lewis? I was like, hey, I want to just do all new material. Can I, or at least 20 new, can I feature?
Oh.
And he said, you can't have a hotel. How do you feel about that? And I was like, okay. I said, it will be a wash then, but I'll take it. Cause it's, but, yeah. So, and that's where you recorded your new album, which will be up by the time this goes. Live at Acme is what you're calling it, Costaki Economopoulos.
That's right.
Because you recorded it at Acme.
I love Acme. I've always loved Acme. It was the first good club to ever headline me.
See?
And
Me too.
Lewis has been like my crazy comedy uncle my whole life.
Yeah.
And I love him, and I love that space, and I love the staff.
No one is more supportive than Louis Lee in my career,
He's awesome.
including me. He is more supportive than I am.
I've heard you say that somewhere else. That makes me laugh.
It is so funny.
Including me.
Including myself. He is like, will you get your shit together and do this and do that and ask for more money and do this other thing and go record an album and who can I? And he's, he talks me up, and it's nice.
He's a good guy. So I love that club, and I recorded in December.
Yep.
And we put it all together, and we're happy it's coming out. It's definitely the best thing I've done.
Oh, good.
Creatively.
Yeah, because you've gotten better.
Yes.
Stand-up comedy. Some comics don't, so I approve. I entirely approve. Such a grump. Anyway, but it's by the way, it's at Funny Costaki on Twitter, which is Kostaki. COS. Why did I wrote C.
Funny. K in the original Greek, though. Maybe
maybe that's it.
It's bubbling through. You know what's up.
Let's allow me to have no accent and say thank you very much in Greek that I learned from a Harlequin romance in high school.
What did you say? Epharisto?
Yeah, Epharisto Poli.
Oh, Poli, right.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Learned it in a Harlequin romance in high school.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a dork.
What was the context of that story?
Well, I don't know if you know this about Greek guys. They're pretty romantic.
Oh, so
they're super intense.
They find themselves in books like this?
They find themselves in Harlequin romances with their dark, good looks.
I did not know
Look
that.
what I'm staring at. I'm staring at Costaki Economopoulos, who has dark, good looks. You're Greek.
I'm dark anyway.
It's dark hair, dark eyes. Anyway, and you have a podcast called Quick Snaps where you talk about the NFL.
Yeah.
And we may talk about the NFL, but first, you know what I've never had on the Dork Forest is your dorkdom, even though everybody loves it, or a lot of people do. Poker,
yes.
Which is a card game.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about poker. I get it, but I like that little card that tells you what beats what.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because who's
You're at that
got
level of poker.
Exactly. I'm at that level of poker where I'm like, I have 3 of a kind. Does that beat a full house?
Yeah, that's worth looking up.
It's worth. Does it?
You want to know that? No, a full house has a 3 of a kind in it, plus a pair.
Oh, that's how I might be able to remember that.
Obviously, that's better. The more confusing ones are flush and straight, and that when you're learning, that's a little bit more of like, okay, these are all the numbers are in a row. Is that better than all clubs?
Yes.
Right.
Is it?
No,
the numbers
all clubs are better.
Oh, all clubs are better.
Yeah.
Probably because of the statistics or the odds.
Right. Because it's harder to get.
Harder to get all clubs than it is to get all the numbers in a row because all the numbers could be in different suits.
Right.
Wow. I love it when I learn things. I love it when it's like, it's going to be like this for an hour.
This is a good start.
You should have heard me with Rory Scovel in golf.
Oh, really?
And Will Anderson in cricket.
Oh, wow.
After the Will Anderson cricket one, for a whole hour, I knew how to play cricket.
I'm going to go listen to that because I've tried to like cricket and failed.
Oh, Will Anderson will help you because it was kind of fascinating.
Yes, I'm sure it is, actually.
They stopped for lunch. They stopped for...
They play for like 3 days in a row. Mm-hmm. It's one of the strangest games I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is crazy. So what, do you like all card games or is just, and then poker rose to the top? Like, did you ever play gin rummy as a child?
I did some of that. My grandmother was a card player.
That's it. My grandmother...
And so that's part of the story for me. It was like... those moments of like warm family sort of communal activities, I always was drawn to those.
Yeah.
And then later, poker was the thing that was the college version of that.
Oh, right. Because now you're a grown up.
Now you're a grown up. But still, I would much rather have, like, as opposed to go and see a movie, which is a passive experience.
Right.
And then my favorite part of that is talking about it after.
Right.
So you skip the passive part. And you just sit around a table with all of your buddies and you drink beer and you ball bust and you play cards and you have a communal experience all the way through.
Right. Cause it is. Yeah, it is. It's like board games or anything where, I mean, in college, we just sat around and drank.
Yeah.
There was no game.
So that was the communal thing.
That
And
was the
sometimes there was a game. We'd play
Right.
quarters or something.
Yeah. Oh, right. Or pong, beer pong, which I'm aged out of.
That was later. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
aged
missed
out of
that
that.
era.
I missed Oregon Trail. I missed beer pong.
All we had was a quarter, a dirty quarter.
Dirty, filthy quarter that we would all suck on. And, right. It's
That is a generational gap.
yeah.
That is a huge generational gap.
When people start talking about beer pong and stuff.
Beer pong versus quarters.
Yeah. Oh, well. That's fine. I'm also, we had Zima. We didn't have Mike's Hard Lemonade. What shitty drink are the kids drinking
True.
today?
Mike's Hard Lemonade's pretty good.
Is it?
I think so.
Well, it's a hard lemonade.
I wouldn't want to drink 6 of them in a row.
Well,
but
if
you're having beer, you take a break and have one of those. It's like, oh, nice.
We'll mix it up. Or a hard cider.
Yeah.
Those also came in
Yeah,
after I was done.
I agree. I love those too.
But the weird sweet drink I would drink, I never did drink Zima, but I drank peppermint schnapps.
Oh, really?
Like a girl.
I'm trying to imagine that with you. That doesn't fit in my
Rumplemans?
brain. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Sure.
Also generational
Yeah,
Rumplemans.
possibly. And what that generation is the Appalachians. That's some sort of Armenian thing. My grandmother used to give me peppermint schnapps if I had a cold when I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
She was like, "Here, have a shot and go to bed."
See? So was that part of the connection of how you were like, oh, when you found it later, you're like, oh, this,
I
this
think it
connects
was.
me to something
Yeah, which
else.
is like poker, I guess.
And when I ask, I do a lot of football jokes on the radio. So very often during my act, I'll do like my act,
Yep.
my relationships, my life, my kid, my wife, and then there's a chunk where I do football jokes, and I always ask people how they connect with their teams. And it is fascinating how many different answers there are.
Oh, right.
And very often it's something like that. Like my grandmother liked the Eagles, and I grew up in Dallas, and
Yeah.
all my friends are Cowboys fans, but I was like, screw the Cowboys. There's always some interesting familial
Like one
story.
weird twist to it.
Right.
So so your grandmother played cards with you.
My grandmother was a big card player, so I like that sort of simple aspect of it. And I was
Yeah.
also a chess player in high school and
Okay.
mostly middle school. Middle school, I was a crazy chess player. It's
They have
one
a
of the
chess
few
club?
things I was really good at. Yeah.
All right.
And I was a speed chess champ of my school.
What?
I was the captain for some of the time.
Can you name like the different squares? Like if somebody says move it to F whatever or
On
what?
to D4 or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sure.
It's my chess obsession is long ago now.
But did you know at the time?
Yeah, sure.
Could you have done?
And you would take notes. You would go pawn to pawn to
that's what
F4,
this
knight
person
to
did.
D,
This is
and then you could go back and replay the game and study it. That's the reason that you take the notes.
Oh.
And my coach was such a nerd that he would go through the games and write notes on the side and give them back, almost like a paper.
Oh, good for him though.
Yeah, he
I
was
mean
great.
that makes more sense than anything else, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how are you going to learn how to get
That's
better?
the reason that I became a good chess player, because I just fell by accident into a dreamy situation of an absolute great coach.
Right, the coach cared enough to do the work
Right,
with you,
right.
which is, it's always nice when a teacher takes time to teach in the middle of it all. It's, but I mean, because the thing is some people just show up, they're just going. I mean, you got to learn how to read, write, and arithmetic, and I'm going to teach you those things. But if someone has if they're good at teaching or whatever, they take an extra minute and
Right. So all of those things sort of came together. The excitement about the communal experience and the sort of nerdy look aheadness of chess.
right.
And then poker, just like I just was drawn to it and loved it. And then years later, it exploded as a cultural phenomenon on ESPN.
They had it on TV.
And it became like a huge thing
They were
everywhere.
showing it on TV.
And at that point, I totally embraced it. And I was playing online, and I almost quit my night job for my night job.
Wow, that's what you would have quit stand-up comedy to become a poker player.
That almost happened.
You know what? Allow me to digress, and then we can. I swear to God, we'll talk about
No,
poker
no,
forever.
it's great.
I always wanted them to do an ESPN of cribbage because it felt just as sporty as poker, and also I always wanted to hear a lot of people say knobs. Other than that, tell me.
You just don't get the cribbage humor like you used to.
Well, a lot of cribbage jokes. I used to have a backgammon joke that destroyed. A lot of people don't know. And were you playing like Texas Hold'em over the
yeah,
internet?
again, it's happenstance, right? There are several poker games for the world to choose from.
What are they?
Well,
There's 5-card, and then there's AC Doocy. Those are the two I know.
right, okay, fair. Those could have become the game that we all love, but they don't look good on TV.
Okay.
Texas Hold'em plays well on television.
Why?
It's not as good a game, arguably, as 7-card stud or some of the other games.
Oh, that's right. There's that.
But Texas Hold'em, everyone gets 2 down cards.
Okay.
And then there's a flop of 3 in the middle.
Oh, that's right.
And so lipstick cameras came into play, and you could see the down cards, and you could see the game played, but it was revealed to the viewer, and it became compelling only because of the way that television captured it. And it took hold of the American imagination, and it blew up as this giant phenomenon.
Because you could watch the bluffing. You could watch how people play.
Right, because you knew what they really had.
Right.
And you could see them play the game.
I suppose even if you were good at it, you could take notes and learn how to play better poker from it.
Yeah,
No?
except like any other TV, it's they tape for 14 hours and they show you the 22 minutes that they
That are
think are
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
And so it's not a very good representation of what real poker is.
Okay. Because Texas Hold'em takes a long time?
Yeah, there's a rhythm to it. It's a slow, sort of beautiful game.
How long does a Texas Hold'em game? Can it take hours?
Yeah,
No.
it doesn't end.
Wait, because you play the hands.
Well, now in my current life, I can't play legal cards at home in New York City, the land of the free in the shadow of the Statue of Liberty.
We have bigger fish to fry, my friend. I am so sorry.
Fair enough. Good point.
But so wait, they outlawed card games or something?
Well,
I saw Guys and Dolls. There's got to be a floating crap game somewhere in New York City.
there are underground games, but here's the problem. An underground game is illegal, and there's a lot of money there. So it's the perfect place to rob.
Oh.
So every once in a while, there's a crazy thing with a gun sometimes
And
someone
bad
gets
guys.
shot at a poker game.
Okay.
And so I don't play in those kind of games anymore because now
Better
I'm a
part of
father of
valor.
a small person.
Right. Better part of valor. No reason to.
So, but when I'm on the road, now it kind of fits with my life because when I'm home, I try to be super dad. And when I'm on the road, I kind of enjoy being a comic and I go play
can do your
cards
things.
wherever those,
Yeah.
a lot of the, a lot of the comedy moments are near the poker moments anyway. Sometimes they're literally in the same building.
Right. If you're doing casinos, which is the only place I know of that is legal. Are there other legal cards besides
Yeah,
casinos?
actually, out here, there's a whole nother universe that doesn't exist in most parts of the country where they have card rooms that aren't casinos otherwise, but
Los
they're
Angeles,
card
California
rooms.
has card rooms.
Yeah, all of California.
Oh,
They have rooms where you can't play slots or roulette and those kinds of things, but they have cards. So they have Pai Gow and poker and blackjack and stuff like that.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's just a different kind of casino, but it's dedicated to cards.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's called a card. Wait, is there a card room at the horse track? I think there is.
Yes, there usually is.
Yeah. So if you want to lose your money twice on cards and horses,
Right, so-
it's my father's dream, by the way, is to go lose twice. He's just like, oh, let me go make a bet on this horse that isn't going to win, and then play these cards that aren't going to win.
Yes.
And love him dearly.
But poker, if you don't
Yeah.
mind me defending my little game,
Please.
you're not playing the house.
Oh, you're playing each other.
Right. And the house takes a cut. So that's why you could be a professional poker player because you're not playing the house, you're playing the other knuckleheads.
So the odds are better because the other knuckleheads aren't possibly.
Well, it's not that they're not
What's the
good,
percentage the
but
house
it's that
takes?
you study the game and they don't quite
There,
that level.
there you go. You're better at poker than they are.
Right.
So that it has that sort of competitive edge.
At one moment in my life, I had a parenting book in my hand and I put it back on the shelf and there were 2 parenting books and there were about 20 poker books. And I go, maybe that's not the right ratio.
Perspective. Except, Chad Daniels, right?
Yeah.
His joke about parenting is one of my favorite jokes.
What's
He's like,
that?
people are always like, I kill plants. I can't raise a kid. And you're like, you aren't a plant. You're a person. I made this into a 42-year-old. Do what you do for yourself, but cut it up smaller. Like cut the food up smaller. If you're thirsty, get your kid a glass of water. Anyway, so, poker sounds harder to do than raise kids, quite honestly.
Well, here's the phrase that they always say about poker, and it's so true. Moments to learn, a lifetime to master.
Oh,
So I can teach you poker right now, and we could play at some minimal level, and we would both be fine with it, and it would be great, and it would be fun for you and for me.
Okay.
But there's gradations of learning that kind of never end. It's so multi-layered that it's fascinating. Like chess, you can kind of go on forever.
What are you looking? I mean, okay. First, I have one question, which is, what is the percentage the club gets, the card club?
Oh,
does it vary?
Varies wildly, but it's generally 10-ish%.
Okay,
so if you say it's 10, then you have to outplay the other players by 11% in order to be profitable.
Okay.
Ish, you know what I mean?
So those aren't bad odds.
So if you can crush the table in terms of being ahead of the curve, it's actually a profitable enterprise.
Okay. And then like, what's the cheapest ante at one of these things? Like $3 or $5 or $1?
Well, again, it varies wildly. And that's part of the beauty of it. As I travel around, that's a different game in Montana than it is in Louisiana.
Right.
And so there's different house rules or different expectations. Typically in sort of the modern poker universe, a 1-2 no limit game is kind of the standard bearer of the whole deal.
Okay.
Which means there's 2 blind bets. They call them blinds. You have to put them in, like you would use the word ante, before you see the cards.
Oh.
Right? Let's say there's 10 players at the table.
Yeah.
I put in $1. You put in $2. The other players put in nothing. And then we play a hand and we fold, and then it shifts. Then you put in $1. The player to your left puts in 2. And
so
the other players put in
don't
nothing.
have to put, so 2 people put in stuff initially into what I would call the ante, but it was called blinds.
Right.
Because nobody's gotten any cards yet. That's why it's blind.
Right.
Okay.
Then you look at your cards and decide if you want to play.
Yep.
And the money that's on the table is sort of what drives the action, chasing that money.
That stays there.
That stays there. You're in for that much.
Right. So if you go around and nobody bets more than, like if you were the dollar blind, and the person next to you is the $2 blind, and nobody brings it up more than $2, you might stay in.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Exactly. So the other players owe $2 to play in the game.
Oh, to stay in, they have to pay.
If they want to play, they have to put $2 in.
They have to match the bigger amount, and then the person who did the dollar has to put in $1?
Correct.
Okay.
They could fold for free.
Okay. And just be done.
A pro player folds about 80% of the time before you start.
Oh, wow.
Which right there, you already are ahead of the field just by doing that. Because they're not doing that. They come to play. They don't come to fold. Right.
Well, and if you fold 80, so how many cards do you get? What game is this that has a blind?
Okay, so this is, again, we're talking about Texas Hold'em.
Oh, that's right.
So we all have 2 down cards.
So everybody gets 2 cards, and then the blind happens, or the blind happens.
And then you decide whether to play.
Okay.
And you can fold for free if you're not in the blinds. You can call for 2, or you can raise it to whatever you want.
Like if you have 2 aces.
Right, which becomes part of the art.
Okay.
Now, it's not a mechanical action. It's this beautiful sort of science meets art moment where you try to figure out the right amount to raise to protect your hand and to winnow the field and to also charge the players with lesser cards for coming into the action.
Okay. Wow.
Right?
All right.
And that continues throughout the rest of the hand. So let's say let's go with your dream scenario. You have the aces.
I got 2 aces.
The big blind is $2.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So you have been playing with these guys for a few hours now. It's a never-ending, no-limit game that has no beginning and no end. And players come in and leave.
No limit means that you could bet as much money as you want.
As you have on the table.
Okay, you can't go into your wallet and go,
right.
I'm going to grab another grand.
Now, you can put a lot on the table if you want, or not so much. Again, another one of this is the beauty of poker to me. Let's say in an hour, you make 100 key decisions. If you make 90 of them well, and I make 70 of them well, you're winning some of my money during that hour.
Yeah.
So it's like this game of discipline and quiet, sort of careful decision making that over the long haul, the good players win.
Interesting.
In the short run, anybody can win, which is part of the magic and the beauty of poker.
Right, because there's also a crapshoot angle to it.
Yes.
Because you don't know what cards you're going to get.
In fact, moment to moment, a lot of the game is just the luck of the cards. But so today, you and I play.
Yeah.
I'm a much better player than you are.
Yes.
But you could easily beat me.
Right.
But at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, there's no way you're going to beat me.
Right.
Long run.
Long run. Yeah, the long
So you
game.
think of it as a long game when you're a serious player.
Okay. And, well, there's part of me. My father lost a lot of money playing cards as a child, so I'm trying. But Dork's Forest, safe space. You get to celebrate your dorkdom.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is the dorky part. The image of poker is that it's won by guys who have balls and cowboy hats and Budweiser.
Yeah.
No. The guys that are playing at these final tables at the World Series of Poker, they're very often like from Ivy League schools, and they have like game theory master's degrees. And the nerds win at poker. It's about careful decision making and math and reading players and having discipline and being cautious. You can't really
card count, right? I mean, there's no card counting, right?
No, it's really more situational. It's understanding situations.
Is it one deck of cards?
One deck.
And there's 10 players and everybody, so we each get 2 cards and then there's the flop, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
There we go. 3 cards that go in the middle.
Right.
That we all get.
We all share those.
The
key to the whole operation is the down cards, because those are the cards that are separate from the rest of the world.
So nobody knows.
Nobody knows, and that's what makes your hand or doesn't, is the 2 down cards.
Is there anything after the flop? I feel like there's 2 more cards.
That's right. You got it.
Okay.
There's a flop, then there's a turn card, and then there's the river card. So eventually there's 5 in the middle that we're sharing, and we each have 2 down.
Okay.
And then you make your best poker hand out of those 7.
Okay.
Right?
Interesting. And so to get better at poker, like you were saying that there's plateaus and, or what I think of as plateaus and spikes, and you sort of, you get better as percentage of, easy to learn, a lifetime to.
Yeah, all the minutiae, to use your word, right?
Yeah.
You learn all the gradations and all the moments from experience of, okay, when this particular player is pushing money around, he's not messing around. He's got cards.
Yeah.
This guy over here puts money in with who knows what, right?
Yeah.
And you're reading those situations. And you have your cards versus their cards, and you're reading what they're doing. And
your personhood versus their personhood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, most of it isn't looking into their soul and figuring out what their cards are. Most of it is learning to watch the style of play that player has.
Okay.
And sort of winnowing what the poker player would call his range of cards. So the player who's a tight player doesn't play very often. When he's putting money in the pot, he's got a smaller range of cards that he could have.
Okay.
The loose player, the guy who's wild and playing all over the place, he's got a wide range. So he could have aces or he could have 10-2. There's a big range of cards that he could have. And you're sort of, it's not math exactly, but you're sort of making decisions based on the range that you put the guy on.
But you have to, like, what if you sit down, like if you're in different card rooms, you don't know any of these people.
Yeah, but it's like the book Blink.
Okay. Which I never read.
But you know the premise, right?
No.
It's a Gladwell book, right?
Oh, is it?
So
there we go.
When you see somebody, you kind of know.
Okay, because you can see types.
You
can read the the table.
Meet somebody in a dating situation, in 10 seconds whether or not you're going to have a second date.
Right.
When you see someone on the street, in the first 1 second if he's likely to rob you.
Gladwell. Here's what I would encourage Rangers is you give people more than a second or 10 seconds for a second date.
He's not disagreeing with the premise, but he's saying that we take all of these little cues in immediately and we're usually right. That's the premise of the book.
The premise, yes.
And it applies to poker. And it's not just 10 seconds. You're there for hours,
right? And
in some cases.
And so you will learn.
So you get to know who these guys are and what their style of play is.
And so is there it feels like there's a lot of memory to it. Like you have to remember how they play.
But you don't have to try because it's very natural.
Okay.
In the same way that if you and me and 5 other comics we never met sat in a room together for a little while, you would immediately
know how to riff
kind of
with
know
them.
like, this is the dick joke guy, and this chick is really savvy about relationship
Right. And
you kind of
one-liner guy, storytelling
you learn
dude.
their essence.
Right.
Right. And it's the same thing with poker styles. You breathe it in and you kind of know like, oh, this is
That's what the long game is then, because you have to be around so many, because comics, I can recognize much like the Blink thing.
Right.
If I meet a comic, within very quickly, I can tell whether they're funny or not.
Yes.
And
You're
it's
not always right.
I'm not always right. Sometimes
but generally you're right.
Generally, I can tell.
Right.
I'm like, oh, this is a good guy, and and he's going to be funny. And
yeah, so that's and then
this person might be funny, but he's a blowhard off stage.
Even more than the human side is the game side of No Limit Hold'em is a really complicated game at its highest level because you're deciding so many different things: how much to bet, when to bet, whether to check and then raise. These cards versus those cards are likely to hold up in this number of situations after the turn and the river. My chances of getting a flush are this. If I push all in here, how likely is he to fold?
Yeah.
And my second, semi-bluffing, your plan A is to bet enough that you'll fold.
Yeah.
Plan B is you're in and I could still win, even though I have nothing yet. So
how do you win if you have nothing yet? Because it's just the flop.
Well, let's say there's 2 clubs on the board and I have 2 clubs in my hand.
Right.
So I have 1 card to a flush, which is a powerful hand.
Yep.
But right now I have nothing.
Right.
So that's a good situation where I might bet enough to try to get you out of the hand.
Yeah.
And if you still call, I could still hit a flush and then win that way. Plan A is that you fold. Plan B is that I hit my flush.
And so you bet the first, before the flop, you bet on what you have in your hand. Right? And then the flop comes, those 3 cards come, and then you go around again and bet.
Right.
And you're like, oh, well, I have 2 clubs, and there's 2 clubs in the middle. I'm going to try to put enough money in that it'll make some of these people drop out.
Right.
What is the math on that? What is the
right? Now it's science meets art because there's a little bit of a mathematical answer. Let's say the pot has $70 in it.
Yeah.
Betting 150 is crazy to win 70. You don't bet that much.
Okay.
And betting 10 into 70 doesn't make anybody go away.
Right. Oh, okay.
So that's part of the art of what's the right amount.
How much
and
to raise?
Do I want them to fold? What's the right amount to get them to do what I want them to do? Because some bets are value bets. I'm betting to get more money in the pot because I think I'm going to win.
Right. Because if you have 2 aces and let's say another ace shows up in the flop,
right,
you kind of want to drag them along with you, right?
Now I want to get as much money in the pot as possible.
So then do you put the 10 in?
Maybe that's part of the, now I've watched these guys play.
Yeah.
I know their tendencies. Some of them are what they call calling stations, which is a reference from the, in the old cruise ships days where you get off the boat and you would go to a calling station.
Yeah.
So they call too much. So,
I call.
So if there's a calling station, now I want to bet my small amount because I know he's going to hang around. He's not going to give up easily. Right.
Okay. So there's, you can raise. You can stand?
You can, well, basically in any poker moment, you have 3 choices. You can fold.
Okay.
For free.
Which is you drop out.
You're out.
Yeah.
You're out. You can bet.
Yeah.
Or you can raise.
Okay.
Which means someone else's bet and you make it more than that.
Bet is essentially matching whatever came before you.
No, that would be a call.
Okay.
A bet is you're putting new money into the pot and making it a higher amount for everyone else to play. Right?
Oh,
let's say you bet 10.
Yep.
Now I can fold for free.
Yep.
I can call for 10 or I can raise to 25 or 55 or whatever I want.
What's the bet word that was in the middle there? You said you can fold, you can bet, or you can raise.
Oh, yes. And of course there's call, which is
and then call.
And you bet, then that's one of my choices. I can call for that amount.
Which is you fold. Match it and then everyone after cannot raise? Is that the
No, which is another part of the beauty and the complication of poker.
Okay.
That's part of the decision that I'm making. If there's 4 players now, and you bet, there's 2 guys to act behind me, which makes it less likely that I'm just going to call with a weak hand because they could still raise it and then
it'll
push
come
me
back
out,
to me.
And I've already got my 10 or 20 in, and it was a bad choice for me to make that call.
Right.
But maybe I'm doing something sneaky and I have a monster hand.
Yeah.
Now I'm calling, hoping that they raise so that I re-raise.
Oh my gosh.
So
okay, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many gradations of exciting little strategic moments in poker.
Right.
And in No Limit, you're making all of those decisions and the amounts at every turn, whatever you want.
And can it keep going around as long as the bets and the raises and still keep happening?
Yes.
It goes for as long as it happens.
Right. Now, in No Limit, sometimes it ends pretty quickly when one guy says, I'm all in, and he's got $400 in front of him. And now the other players have to match that or the hand's over.
Okay, let's say I have $400. I'm all in.
Right.
Everybody matches it. Can anyone raise a 400, or is there a...
You're only in for the amount that you're all in for. We can't make it 700 and you can't play.
Because I don't have $300. Yeah.
No, your action is full.
Okay.
So you're in for 400 and you get to see the end of this hand and you get that much no matter what.
Okay.
If you win.
Okay.
Now there might be other players in the hand and I might want to raise to keep them out and just play against you.
Right.
Or I raise, they call, and we have a side pot. You can win your 400 and our 400, each of us.
Okay.
And then let's say there's 800 on top of that. Now the 800 between us,
it's a separate game?
It's a separate pot. It's the same hand, but you can't have that because you didn't have enough to play that part.
But if I win of everybody, I just get the 400s. Right, I get the 400.
You get my 400 and his 400.
Yeah,
everyone was in
400.
at that point.
The side pot would be with whoever wins who has the best cards of the resties.
Right.
Is that it?
That's it. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
You're savvy.
Well, I have an addictive personality. I could play this game.
See, I'm teaching you the game right now.
Right.
You're a good learner. You'd be great to coach.
Oh, I'd be great to coach.
It'd be fun to take you on the road, play some cards with you.
Now, do you play pretty often?
I don't really do stand-up all that often relative to what I used to do.
Oh, really?
Because now I go out like every other weekend.
Okay.
And let's say half of those times there's a poker room within driving distance.
Okay.
So once a month
and you
or
don't
so,
play in New York.
Right. So once a month or so, I'll dive in and play for like 5 hours here and 10 hours there and have a crazy weekend.
If you were out more, would you only play for 2 or 3 hours? Do you think? Or you
long sessions are so fun.
Long sessions are the way
That's
to go?
part of the beauty of it.
Okay.
You put your headphones in, you listen to Dork Forest, and you play cards.
You play cards while you're listening to a radio show and not concentrating on the rest of the...
Yeah, because...
What happened to the community, Costaki? What happened to the community?
This is professional level sort of chilling and zenning out.
Okay.
These aren't my buddies. These are guys on a riverboat in Iowa.
Right.
So I don't go for the same experience there.
Right.
In that situation, I'm going to listen to Mark Maron and Malcolm Gladwell and
talk on the phone.
A book I'm listening to on tape called Fuck Feelings.
Fuck Feelings.
I'm trying to care less about some of the things and get less angsty in my life. So in that situation, let's say you in a typical no limit game, there's a live game. They'll deal about 25 to 30 hands in an hour.
Okay. How many people are playing?
10-ish.
Okay,
7, 8, 9, 10.
So the table itself usually has 7 to 10 people at it.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And if I'm folding 70, 80% of the time, there's plenty of time to listen to Jackie Cation in my head. And then I can chill and enjoy that. And then there's these moments of like great focus. And then I take the headphones out and I really think very carefully about what I'm doing.
Do you think that's a tell?
Well, yeah, but you could think very carefully about very strong hands or very weak hands.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so they can't tell. Right. But I wonder if like after several hours they're like, oh, he takes the headphones out.
Yes, when he has a monster hand.
When he has a monster hand.
I think that's a good point. I should be wary of that.
You're like, oh, noted.
So for me, it's this beautiful sort of throwback communal strategic thing that I loved about my childhood and chess playing and my college buddies. And it's a nerds win game, which I love. It's careful decision making and discipline is what wins long run.
Right.
And it's this sort of Zen activity of losing myself in this thing for a few hours. I just love it. I miss it when I don't play it for a while.
Yeah. My brother Phil was playing poker a lot lately and then he had to kind of chill because it was getting kind of expensive.
Yeah.
And,
but that could happen too.
Right. But he also plays online chess.
Oh.
Much like he is essentially you to some extent. And,
he sounds great.
He sounds great. He's also gotten into pinball recently.
Really?
Yes. It turns out he'll play a game.
That's retro.
But my favorite story about him playing chess online is whenever he's losing and he has to concede, he goes, "Oh, my mom says I have to go to bed," and pretends that he's 11. And
I love that. My brother-in-law is a hardcore online player. He plays something called lightning chess.
Lightning chess.
Where speed chess is each person gets 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And apparently lightning chess, the whole game happens in like
5 minutes?
no less. Like it's 2 minutes.
Oh my God, they're like quick.
And he was telling me the other day that he's about to win his 100,000th game or something.
Whoa.
And here's the joke I didn't say.
Yeah.
I wish I had said, and what happens when you hit 100,000 wins in chess? Do you get a job?
It's like, yeah, it's some serious solo time. Like my brother's downstairs tying flies and and playing chess online and just screwing around. So,
But I used to feel bad about these hobbies.
Yeah.
Because they felt like they were, I'm not
Curing cancer or
right.
something?
I'm
okay.
not, like I would see guys in airplanes. They would be handed the USA Today or whatever version of that. They pull out the sports section and read it for an hour. And I was like angry at that guy. It was like, there's a fucking lap full of useful information that you are ignoring.
By going straight to the sports section?
And you're reading about wide receivers or some stupid thing.
The whole section, too. That is an hour.
Cut to later in my life.
Yes.
Like, I was a poli-sci guy. Like, I
Yeah.
have a master's degree in political science. I was really politically active. And now I've shifted the other way. Now I'm like, I find it all to be taxing, and I'd rather just enjoy these little moments.
Where did you go to college for your master's?
University of Georgia.
Okay. And, did you do that thing where if you had Georgia has that high school program? You might have aged out of this as well, where if you have a B average, you can go to college for free.
That's the next generation after me.
That is, okay.
That's
It's
the lottery money.
It's so great.
It's so great.
Who knew Georgia?
It changed education in Georgia.
Right.
Because in the old days, the really good students would go out of state.
Yeah.
And now they stay.
They stay because it's free.
And they made the value of my degree from the University of Georgia higher.
Right.
Because now the people coming out are, on average, smarter than they used to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's harder. And, but it's, who knew that Georgia was going to start,
Well, they're a model.
have a great model.
They're a model of it. Look, if you're going to have the lottery,
Yeah.
at least do it like this, where the money actually goes to what you said it was going to go to.
Which was education.
Right.
And, no other state's doing that. Though Tennessee, I understand, just said that community college is free.
Really?
Yeah. They said anybody
that's
can go to.
something.
It is something. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, that's
It's.
something.
I'll go to tech school for free. I'll take that if you're willing to do that, Wisconsin.
But to finish the point, so
Yeah.
I was, I was annoyed that people weren't working to learn and create a better world for all of us. And now I have a little bit of a, what are we all doing here anyway? Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, little empathy wouldn't. Yeah.
So whatever.
You can't write the great American novel 24 hours a day.
Sometimes I think I look back and I go, I can't believe I just spent 14 hours playing cards.
Right.
And then in the same breath, I'm like, but I really enjoyed myself and it centered me and it made the rest of my world a little bit better. And I just, and I have $300 more than I did when I started. And
Right.
There's a bounce in my step because I like the game.
Right. And so you don't end up losing money more than you need to.
No, I actually,
You
I
budget?
almost quit comedy to be a professional poker player. It's a very profitable game for me.
That's how good you are.
Again, long
But you're
run.
better at it. Yeah.
I never did it full time, but it's funny. It's hard for me to even say this because I wish I had done this.
Yeah.
I think I could be a professional poker player, but I never did it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know for sure, but I think I could do it for a living.
Right. And,
Maybe.
But now you have a child.
But at least I can do it as a profitable hobby.
Yeah.
Most hobbies cost money. Mine makes a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you know what?
That's a good level for
that's
me.
fine. And you know what? Well, some people do comedy as a hobby, and if they can make
true,
some money at it, they count that as a win.
Right.
So, which it is. It really is.
Yes,
I mean,
of course.
whatever you do, if you like, I've had people on the show who design cosplay, right? They make the outfits.
Oh.
And so there's a regular job and then there's a cosplay job where they make these outfits and then sell them online. And you're like, whatever money you make on that is gravy, because
Yes,
that's
of course.
just,
Most
and if
people
you,
pay
especially
money
if you
for
love
their
it.
hobbies,
Yeah.
right? If you're a golfer, it might cost you $10,000 a year to be a golfer.
Right.
You know?
Right.
If you are a boater, that could be $100,000 a year.
Right.
I mean, whatever. So this is the first year in many years that I'm keeping a book. I'm like actually have a spreadsheet where I won 800 here and lost 400 here.
Oh, okay.
And I'm actually keeping
This is the first year
tabs.
because you're going to figure it out.
Because my wife and I have had a couple of weird conversations where I'm like, no, honey, this is kind of a job.
Yeah.
You know, so I just want to show it on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So I'm up about 1,500 on this calendar year.
Right. And we are in right now May, I think.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm going to be doing this for real money.
Yeah.
But I'm in the black.
Right. If you're in the black at all with this is a win.
In anything. If
Yeah.
you're in the red a little bit, it would be a win because it's a beautiful game.
Right. And I mean, if I think about the things that I do as a hobby, I'm in the red. It's that's what, if you think about
Yes, of course, but it's fun and it's worth it.
Yeah, which is
Right.
exactly. You're right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I just had to check in. I don't mean to side with your wife. It's but I've seen some people lose a lot of money.
My wife's been very supportive. I didn't
Yeah.
mean to throw under the bus.
Oh, no.
But it isn't. I want to be able to show that it's a long run. Like in Lifetime, I'm probably up about 100,000.
Yeah.
Because there was a stretch when I played online. I would play 8 tables at once.
Yeah.
Online. There would be this crazy grid of full tilt poker screens. And I was doing it methodically at low stakes, playing really good ABC poker over and over and over again. And you can wrench out a profit from just doing it really well at low stakes.
It sounds like World of Warcraft and mining.
It is a little bit like that. You can get lost in it.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely true that people with addictive personalities can completely fall off a cliff and lose yourself into these worlds.
Right. You don't want to do that. You want it to could always be fun.
Right.
You want to make sure that you're, you get the thing out of it that you started doing it for.
Yeah.
If you're getting a Zen, mellow thing out of it where you're like, well, no, I came out of it and I was like, this was super fun.
Yeah.
I feel more centered. I feel like I did some awesome math.
Yeah.
I got to look at some people.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's always been an escape for me, some of these hobbies, like with fantasy football and with poker. If I'm having angsty thoughts as I'm falling asleep,
Yeah.
I try to push those out of my head.
Yeah.
The easiest way for me personally to do that is to think about the Falcons or think about the poker hand.
Okay.
Or think about my fantasy team and who I'm going to keep next year. Just little pleasant zen-y things that help push away the scary demons. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's some people do meditation and they try to, because they say even with meditation and you breathe, you're supposed to try to let go of all your thoughts. Even in meditation, they say you never do let go of all of your thoughts. You just let them come and go. You let them come and go. You let them come and go. So
I've worked with that and failed largely at that. So I find pick a pleasant thing and replace the thought as opposed to go thoughtless.
yeah, when I was a kid, I used to have nightmares and my stepmother was like, think about unicorns and lollipops and just to have them dance. And she's like, just fucking go to sleep is what my stepmother. It wasn't bad. It was just like, she was like, what do you like? Think about those things. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It was great. And it ended up, she also had a small chant that we would do whenever I would throw up. When I was like 7 or 8, when she first took over, I had a lot of emotional and I had a lot of issues, right? And so I used to throw up a lot. And she was like, okay, here we go. Regurgitate, puke up all the food you ate. And I was like, that's gross. And she's like, yeah, it is gross. I'm standing right here. And
wow.
she was as supportive as a stepmother could be, right?
That's sweet.
She was very sweet.
That's a weirdly sweet story.
She's a weirdly sweet, irritating woman who has gone on to a better place that probably has no children. And some clone of my father who is more attentive. Anyway, so I have weeded off.
See, there are layers to you, young lady.
There are. God knows. I am an onion. That is pretty obvious, though. I think Rangers, the people who listen to the show a lot, they're like, oh, yeah. I know of what you speak. So, but you're talking about ABC poker. Like if you're playing 8 games at once,
yeah,
you're just like making decisions super fast, right?
Yeah. So in that situation, again, I'm going back to the welcome email that you sent me, which is, I dare you to bore me with minutia.
I dare you. I dare you to bore me with minutia.
All right. So in a live poker game, live Texas Hold'em, you'll get 25, 30 hands an hour. In an online game, you get about 70 to 100 an hour because it's faster.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I could play up to 8 tables at once. So you could see almost in the neighborhood of 700 hands in an hour.
Whoa.
So in that dynamic, you're playing a different game completely. You are just folding, and waiting for premier situations. And then you give those attention while you're folding the other tables.
Right. And a shitty two cards might be like a 2 and a 10,
Yeah,
right?
you
Or
never-
a 2 and a 7.
Never playing those ever.
What-
In that dynamic.
Right.
Live with a different situation.
Live is a
maybe.
different situation, but if you're playing like 8 games at once, you're going to want a pair. You're going to want the same suit. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, the premier cards are, of course, 2 aces, 2 kings, 2 queens.
Yeah.
Ace, king, ace, queen.
Okay.
And then, of course, as you go down the list of pairs, those are the next tier, pocket 10s, pocket jacks, and then, on down, pocket 9s, pocket 2s.
A pair of 2s.
Pocket 2s they're magical and they're fun to play because if you hit that third 2, you can have a very sneaky, powerful hand.
Right.
But most of the time, they go nowhere.
Right.
So again, the relative balance.
Play the odds. Yeah.
Right.
And that's interesting. It's, All right.
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah.
Again. So okay. So you're playing along and then, so those are ones where you're folding 70 hands an hour.
Yeah,
That is
crazy because it's online.
Yeah.
It's,
it's
it's
an
a virtual
algorithm.
game.
Yeah.
So in that situation, you're folding, almost everything. And you're playing premier cards against the field.
And how much is each
There's
game
a guy
to-
in
to-
China
to-
and a
to
guy
be-
in Argentina and a guy in Alabama. And they're probably watching TV and drinking and just playing casually.
Yeah.
And I'm playing like really studied, careful ABC poker, right?
Yeah. In the hopes.
Right. So
And-
long run, that's profitable. Even though the guy from, Alabama might beat me out of a
only-
huge hand.
Right. You're only playing $10 or they're playing $10.
Right.
And you're playing $10 8 times and you're hoping to win $800 or
Yeah.
$300
I'm
or
grinding it out. And, long run, those players are going to lose a little bit more when they lose and win a little bit less when they win than I am. And so long run, that's a profitable game. Plus in the online game, the rake, the part the house takes is only 5%.
Okay.
So you only have to beat them by 5 point something percent to show a profit.
So who owns these, the online? That sounds like the easiest way to make 5% ever.
Yeah. I mean, they're printing money. But obviously, like any of these other businesses, there are so many weird legal costs and promotional costs. But yeah, they're run in, they're offshore.
Oh, I suppose they would be, wouldn't they?
Well,
and
yeah, I mean, the American government killed my little profit universe. I was making about 20 grand a year playing cards online.
Okay.
And they came along one day and shut down the Full Tilt site, had an FBI warning on it, and it was over.
Oh.
And they made it's all debatable.
Yeah.
But according to some, they made it illegal to play that game for money from American soil.
Okay.
The other side would argue that it's still a game of skill and not a game of chance.
Yeah.
And so it's not really illegal, but it's a debatable point and it still hasn't been resolved.
Okay. But is there, not that you're doing it, but is there a way to play for money online?
It's in the old days, it was easy to do.
Yeah.
Now it's conceivable, but you have to kind of have a third party with the thing and put the money in, and it's a little bit of a gray area. And there's
more
a couple,
trouble than it's worth kind of thing?
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, you could move to Canada and do whatever you want, which I've considered. and some of these things are changing now. There's some games that you can play against if you live in New Jersey. There are some online poker games you can play against people in New Jersey. It's like a closed circle.
Okay.
As opposed to it being global.
Interesting. So, I had the greatest question. Oh my God.
Went away?
It went away.
Well, just as a side note, this was a real political bullshit moment because this was not a conversation about the nature of online gaming when this happened, when the law changed.
Yeah.
It was a port security bill, and Bill Frist, who took money from brick and mortar casinos in his district, threw in poker legislation in the bill. It went through both houses and it became American law as like an afterthought.
You know,
And it changed the lives of people like me.
Yeah. hiding this bullshit in the middle of these laws should be against the law.
Yes.
There's part of, I mean, you're just like, why do I have to bury my miscarriage? You know, why is that in the middle of that law about, I don't know, dental care? And then you're like, well, but if you have a miscarriage, you have to buy a casket for it. Yes. And you're like, it's a pile of goo, my friends, and it's gross. Yeah. And it's very sad.
It's an old fashioned political thing because they would trade,
Has it always been?
They would horse trade those things, right?
Yeah, they horse trade them.
Well, I'll vote for your bridge if you do this thing and put in the, you know.
Yeah.
And it still works that way.
It still works that way. And if you can deal 8 games out, and get 70 hands an hour, I think we could separate out some bills. We could,
I know.
You'd think. Okay, so let's get back to poker because
right.
I remembered my question.
Oh, okay.
So do you have friend games that are legal at your house? Can you do that?
Yes. And the government isn't chasing those around.
Yeah, that's not real.
I actually played in one a week ago where it's a lawyer in New York City and he has a hand, they'll get like 25 people come play a tournament. It's $20 and you play until you're out of chips.
Oh.
That's a more typical friend dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's all drinking and no one cares about the money. The money is just a way of keeping score, really.
Right. Yeah.
And there's not a profit. He's not taking a cut for the house.
Right.
So
that would be
he's
weird.
not running a business.
Yeah.
That's a totally different thing. And there's a handful of those I sometimes play in.
Is it Texas Hold'em as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
In that case, yeah.
And there's a buy-in and then you.
Yeah. As opposed to like the classic Eddie Brill game, which I played in many times. Eddie's got a game that was sort of featured in one of the Louis C.K. episodes. That's basically, they've been playing for 20 years.
Okay.
And they play Dealer Calls It. So every time,
Acey-deucey.
the cards go to the next person.
Yeah, and then
they call, Follow the Queen or some crazy bullshit. And again, it's not about the money. It's about being with friends and drinking too much and busting each other's balls. And
busting each other's balls about picking acey-deucey.
Burgers and sandwiches. And
yeah, all of a sudden you're having mediocre Chinese food with
complaining
people.
about your relationships and,
Yes.
the
You're
things
just
characters do.
And pretending to smoke cigars.
Yes,
like
it's
you
all
enjoy
that.
it. Yeah.
And I don't even like some of those things, but I like that people get together to do their things.
That's a party. That's essentially like going over to a barbecue.
I'm in.
Yeah, that's a fun board game night.
So to me, that's a completely different experience than being in Omaha and listening to,
listening to a podcast while
Jimmy
you
Pardo
play.
while I'm trying to win money from strangers.
Right. It's what's interesting is when you play with friends, do you usually win?
I mean, I win more than they do long run because I know the minutia of the game.
Right.
But I'm not trying to beat them badly.
No,
In
you're
fact,
not.
I'll very often make decisions that are not strictly good decisions because they're more fun in those situations.
Make the game more interesting,
of course,
kind of
right,
thing. Yeah. 'Cause you want to play a game. You don't want to.
right.
You don't want the $20 of 5 of your friends.
Hat. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a little bit of a badass when I'm in Omaha, but when I'm with Eddie Brill, I'm not trying to take his money.
Right. You're like, I have $20. I don't need your $20.
Right.
And it'll be fine. So and so when you're in New York and you go out 2 weekends a month. The other times you're doing plenty of stand up, right?
A little bit, but less so. I'm doing a lot of radio now. And so that's kind of become a bigger slice of my pie.
Okay.
I have a thing called Quick Snaps. And
right. You get your pod. Is that on a network? Quick Snaps?
No. We're
put it out
kind
yourself?
of talking to some networks now.
Okay.
But it's on Podbean and it's out every week during the football season.
Get it on iTunes and
we try to keep it tight. It's about a half an hour of this is the weekend that was in the NFL.
Oh, that's interesting.
Jokes and some talk, about our teams.
Have you ever listened to Aaron Foley's Sports Without Balls?
You know what? I haven't.
It's an hour podcast about just all sports. It's she loves football. I think she does fantasy
I've
baseball.
seen some of her stuff online, but I've never listened to the thing. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, her stand-up's exceptional. But I'm talking, by the way, with Costaki Economopoulos. I'm talking with, like at radio. It's at Funny Costaki, Costaki. And Costaki.com is Costaki.com. And it has all the information. Like
all
where
the
you're doing
information.
stand-up. You got a new album coming out that you recorded at Acme. That'll be out in May before this. So it'll be out when this comes out.
Cool.
It's called Live at Acme, Costaki Economopoulos. So, yeah. So what if people want to get into it? Are there good books? Are there good websites? Is there?
Yeah, I would say go play at really low stakes and learn the game.
Yeah.
Study the game a little bit.
See if you like it.
Like you would do anything.
Like you do stand-up.
If you're going to play blackjack once a year,
Yeah.
who cares what you're supposed to do with aces and eights and whatever? Like, people don't even know.
Oh, I got one of those cards.
Right. But if you're going to play a lot,
Yeah.
not knowing is crazy.
Right.
Right?
Right. That doesn't make any sense.
So if you play really low stakes, there's a 2-4 game in your local casino, which means it's the big blind is $4.
Okay. And the small is 2?
Actually, it's less. I think it's 1-2, and then 4 is the later bet. Anyway, I'm getting this is
$1 versus $2, and then
but that's
2
a
to 4.
limit game. So if everything goes wrong, you can lose $20 in one hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not as scary as a no limit game.
Yeah, no limit game's scary.
To a newcomer, you really shouldn't play no limit as a first timer in a poker universe.
When I do a casino, when I do stand-up comedy at a casino, I spend most of the week white-knuckling it, trying not to gamble until at least Thursday.
Oh, I got you, yeah.
Or Saturday,
I've
if
been
I
there.
can hold out.
Yeah.
And when I do, I like to play 5-card poker on a machine. Or
Right.
I like to, and then here's the big game I play. I like to take $40. Aunt Jackie over here. I'm the world's weirdest white aunt. Is I take $40 and I go to the blackjack table.
Yeah.
Because I like to sit around with the people and play blackjack.
The felt and the chips and,
and the
the
chips
feel
and the people, and
the
you're like,
trappings
hey,
of
that's
it all.
a terrible decision.
Yeah,
you know,
right,
and
right.
because I have the card, I don't mind playing the last spot, so I'll take the hit for people.
Oh, right.
And then I'll play as long as I have played as much. Hold your hats. As much as $100 at a poker game, at a blackjack game.
Do you know who famously loves $5 blackjack?
Who?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates famously loves
The
$5.
richest man in the world loves $5 blackjack.
Right, because he thinks it's fun, I bet. And he only plays for like an hour or two, as long as the $100 lasts.
Right.
So the $1,000, in his case, he might play as much as $1,000, Bill Gates. And, but one of the things my dad told me and never followed his own advice is, you got to only play as much money as you can afford to lose.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes.
And,
great advice.
Right. He never actually
never
did
did
that.
that.
No, that was not his thing. But, he's like, I know the rule. But he would lose, and then he would have to go be a bagman for the DeSalvos. Anyway, so he's like,
Is that for real?
yeah. He was like, go make this delivery for Frank Pileski.
Goodness gracious.
And
That's
so
how you get out of debt?
that's that's how my dad got out of debt.
Wow.
You know, he's just like he's doing errands for mediocre bad guys in Milwaukee.
I don't think that happens in real life. I'm just not in that universe. That's amazing to me.
My
That's
father's
really-
universe is a parallel universe. He makes it much more. When I first started going on the road, he was like, "You should see these contracts that some of these strippers have." Because they got, and I was like, "What's happening, Dad? Why are you talking about contracts with strippers? Where are you?" He's like, "Well, there's a nice strip club out in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, and I go there sometimes just to play cards." And I was like, "And to look at noodly ladies? What are you, nuts?" And he's like, I mean, by this time I had been hanging out with enough dirtbag comics to know what strip clubs are for. It turns out they're to look at nudes. They're to look at noodly ladies. That's one of the big draws.
Well, you do get to wander around in life, your whole life, and go, I wonder what she looks like naked. And then you get to go in this one building where you get to find out.
Right?
It's
You're
kind
like,
of magical.
Oh, that's what one of those. That's what that kind of lady looks like without her clothes. Good for her. And that's a different kind of lady. You ever hear Matt Weinhold's joke about the smaller the town, the weirder the strip club?
No.
It's something about it's usually some woman who's had like one breast and she's a pirate, so the other breast is a hook. And it's a much better joke than that. You should go find Matt
love Matt
Weinhold's.
Weinhold.
Yeah, you should find his album. I think it's called. No, that's Dana Gould's album. I forget what it's.
Is he still pounding the road, Matt Weinhold?
No, he's writer guy.
Oh, okay.
So he's writing the good funnies.
That's a good job for him. He's a crazy good writer.
Yeah, he's a great writer. So, but he does have an album out that everybody should. I don't know why. Do you have other albums, Costaki? Let's plug something you're doing.
I do. This is my third stand-up album.
Excellent. Available on all the things.
At all the things, iTunes and whatnot. Costaki.com has links to it. And I also have an album of Economopoulos, which is a segment I did on Bob and Tom for years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's actually a 3-disc set.
Oh, my gosh.
Believe it or not.
With a lot of opinion.
A lot of, well,
is it ranty or?
at the time, it was a writing exercise. You appreciate this. So I did, I don't know how much minutia to share here. I did a
as you'd
segment
like.
on
Yeah.
the Bob and Tom show. I'd been on the show many times recently, and then I went on and I thought to myself, I'd already done all my good jokes. What do I do now? And I was writing for the Complete Sheet, which is a service for DJs.
Okay.
They like get an email at 5 a.m. This is what's happening in country music news. This is what happened in politics. This is, and I wrote topical jokes for the Complete Sheet.
Dude, you have been grinding it out for decades.
I know, it's crazy.
You're like, I have to make some money. I'm going to write the cheat sheet or whatever.
I write the jokes.
Yeah.
But that was great for me because I learned the discipline of I have to write 15 jokes every day and send them in. And so when I was kind of strapped, I went on the Bob and Tom show and I did a segment called Topical Sounding Jokes. These are jokes that sound like they're from this week but aren't. And I just grabbed all my favorite jokes that I'd written in the prior year, and I did like 20 of them.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And they actually ended up bringing in like a rim shot thing, and it was like the stars aligned and it killed on the show.
And it became something.
Well, what happened?
3 albums worth of something.
Yeah, well, I was doing, whatever. I'm trying to think of an example. Like, Pac-Man just turned 25 today.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be chased by little demons. Ask Robert Downey Jr. Whatever. It was.
Oh, there you go.
It was all those kind of jokes. But it was like my favorite 15 of them.
Yeah.
So they killed. And then after the thing, Tom comes over and he goes, you think you could do something like that, like every week? And I said, yes. And of course the answer was no, but,
but hit and miss.
And then it morphed into every week I would pick a subject and just write on it.
Okay.
So it would
like
be,
Louis Blackie kind of.
Yeah. It was called the Economopoulos.
Yeah.
And then one week it was Halloween
That's the
traditions.
Greatest names. Economopoulos.
And the next week it was weird, sports prizes.
Yeah.
And the next week it was phobias. One time I did Dante's Inferno. It was like, well, there's 9 levels of hell. I can write 9 jokes at least.
There you go.
And
that's
so
hilarious.
that became the segment for a while.
Yeah.
And then eventually that sort of faded and it morphed into an all NFL segment.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm doing.
So
I do quick
the
snaps.
albums.
Yeah. So so the albums are actually before it became football. And
the other things.
It's like Christmas traditions and
Halloween and
the Kama Sutra. Whatever the subjects were that I thought had a lot of bullet points.
Yeah.
And I would just write jokes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
And so we're at an hour. You should know this.
Oh.
Yeah. An hour has gone by. So Costaki Economopoulos, you guys, is a great
time
comic.
Flies.
Exactly. That's why I do it every week. You have been listening, and you should find the stand-up comedy of Costaki Economopoulos because it's a fucking delight. Anyway, at Funny Costaki, Costaki's with a C, and then Costaki, and Costaki.com. And podcast, quick snaps, half hour. You probably have all of last season of football.
Yeah, if you want to catch up, go back and do it. It's
there
fun.
you go. And new album, 3rd album, live at Acme, coming out May 26th. And thanks for listening, folks. Thanks for being on the show.
This was a real pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Sure. And you know the rules out there, you guys. Take care of each other.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?